Sandland, the land of scent. Hello and welcome, Chris, back with yet another episode of Fragrantic Timeline. This time looking at the year of 1991. What a year, what a year. And it's again true that not as many fragrances were released as today, but again, it's true for the year of 1991 that less was more. We will see that when I'll present you a little bit of a lineup of those particular fragrances that appeared that year. But let's put them into context first. 1991 was a year when the Soviet Union disappeared. Germany was just becoming one, late 1990, going into 1991. Lots of changes in Eastern Europe happening politically. Definitely a very sensitive time, and also, well, in terms of if I think of music immediately, Metallica's Black Album was released, but also Genesis came out with We Can Dance, Bryan Adams came out with some album, and 1991 U2 with Achtung Baby and stuff like this came out, mostly pop music. Even Metallica was turning a little bit softer than they were before. In terms of movies, obviously, huge hit, Terminator 2, but also JFK came out that year. So it was a creative year. I remember it very well. I was 19 at the time, so it was it was nice. In terms of fragrances, again, as I mentioned, lots of great releases. And ladies first, start with some female fragrances. Escape, the female version here from Calvin Klein. Very, very nice. Classy, fruity type of fragrance that was really, really well designed and well blended, and it's totally worth mentioning this great fragrance from 1991 because it truly deserves it. And the House of Job was maybe celebrating the German reunion with a fragrance called Berlin. Again, 1991 is the year. Job Berlin, a fantastic, light, flowery, very gorgeous smell that is like Berlin in the springtime. It's a shame that it's not available anymore because I think this was just a gorgeous, very girly fragrance, very, very nice. Smells like love, really, this thing from Job. Also, obviously, in the US, stuff came out. For example, Giorgio Beverly Hills released Red, and this is a honorable mention because it's great for autumn time. I don't love it. I like it. It's good for autumn time because it's warm and ambery and a bit orangey as well. It's a nice one in your collection. But also Boucheron Pour Homme was coming out. Carolina Herrera for Men, Duc de Vervins. So there was some cool releases again in 1991. Really nice. And if I have to look at my top three from that year, one very, very extremely popular has to make it because it's just so good. It's still around, still popular, and it's called Kendell Poem. Now this is how the box was designed in 1991, and this is how the bottle looked in 1991. Different. And it had this bamboo shape, but the details were not. Today we get this just pure, normal glass. Here you have the carvings, and it's much more detailed. It's carved glass, and it's just nicer. The scent itself, it's almost the same like it was before. The box is different now today as well, more kind of into the modern type of appearance. But in general, what this fragrance gives you is a very cool sea vibe, not the beachy tropical type of sea, but the rather cold Atlantic coastline, at least according to my senses, and I adore that. Some people call it synthetic. yes, you can argue, but then again, what's not synthetic anymore today? Like, you know, don't overplay this non-synthetic game, because you will get lost, I promise you, you know. So synthetic or not, this really captures this vibe of the cold ocean coastline, you know. It's really, really nice. And I use it when it's very calming. So I use it when I really want to put myself into that type of mood. So this is why, obviously, and the performance is great as well. This is why it made my top 3 of that particular year of 1991. So, Kendell Poem, great release by Kendell. Very, very nice ocean vibe there. There were designer scents or celebrity scents around at the time already. Obviously, Liz Taylor and Alain Delon, who started the whole, or one of the people who started the celebrity fragrance game. Alain Delon. Liz Taylor was highly successful at the time as well with her releases of Passion and so on. And Julio Iglesias, the great Spanish singer, father of Enrique Iglesias, joined this club of celebrities who put out fragrances. He put out his first fragrance called Only for Women. Only. It's not only for women, but it's only for women, right? I guess at least. So Only was the fragrance name, and came out in 1989 for women, but then Only for men came out in 1991. And this juice, I just truly love this thing. It's not available, very hard to get fragrance, extremely hard to get. And this is cool because it has this barbershop feeling, and to me it smells like the social clubs of New York City must have smelled when all the wise guys were hanging out there. You know, the Ravenite Social Club on Mulberry Street and all these places that, you know, had these elegant people, you know, well-groomed, elegant people, but they were also into their type of more vicious business. Okay, so and it has this little spark, this fragrance, that makes it a little bit of a bad boy, even though it's a clean, warm barbershop type of fragrance. It's really sophistication in a bottle. So I truly love Only by Julio Iglesias, and it had to make my top 3 of the year of 1991, and it did. And then there was a fragrance release of that year by the late great genius of Gianni Versace, who I consider to be the greatest ever fashion designer, because he was just shining. He was just so creative and never settling for the ordinary. And it was just like, you know, nothing else out there. So he released actually a good few fragrances, prove what I'm saying as well. Not only obviously in fashion, but in fragrances he was great as well. Versace alone already started the game in the mid 80s, and then, you know, we had releases like the Jeans line and the Dreamer as well, so stuff like that, amazing. And in 1991, since that is the year we're talking about here today, came out a Fragrantic pair, 2 fragrances marketed for man and woman, and they did this extremely intelligently and in a quality that is maybe unmatched until this day in terms of really a fragrance pair. I'm talking about here about the fragrances called Versace. Versace was a line that was still existing, actually. Versace went through some changes. It was directed toward the more younger people. So actually you can see this on the boxes, and I will present both the male and the female Versace here. These were the boxes of the 2 Versace, right? That's the female, obviously, that's the male, and they had this. I mean, it already started with the boxes. I truly love these boxes. Just looking at them makes me happy. And then came the bottles. Versus Uomo versus Donna. Uomo is the blue, obviously. Donna is the red. You can see Gianni's signature there on the front, just below Versace. And the amazing detail as well about this fragrance is that the entire presentation is just so nice. such a nice juice, and both are really, it's like sex in a bottle, really. First of all, and the performance is stunning as well. It's just not, there's not a copy of anything. It's just a trendsetter, both of them. They're discontinued at this stage, but they were actually produced for a good while. I found out that this one, for example, was made in 2010, according to the batch code. So they were produced for a good time, but now I think, I'm not sure if they still are in production. But Versus Donna and Versus Uomo from the year of 1991, from the very house of Gianni Versace, were, in my opinion, by far the best releases of 1991. And totally reflecting the utter genius that Gianni Versace himself was. So I was very happy in 1991 with these fragrances. Actually, I have to say that Versus Gianni Versace Uomo came out in 1991. Versus Donna came out a year after, but they're still a fragrance pair that started somehow together, as they belong together. Even their shape, if you put them against each other, it's a half circle, right? So I cannot mention them separately. They have to be together. So this is how 1992 release made it into the 1991 year. Weird or not, that's true. So that was all about the year of 1991 with all these tremendous releases. You know, again, less is more. 1991, totally loved that year, and I'm happy to have these. Well, maybe not happy to have these juices around. You know, they've been all doing well, and sadly some artists continued, not available anymore. But any collector should look out and try to get these great releases from this fantastic year, historic year of 1991. Thanks very much. That was Chris, and I'll be back with another year soon. Bye.